tardes, señor Contreras.
Buenas tardes.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Contreras, you were arrested based on an allegation of battery domestic violence related.
Señor Contreras, usted fue puesto bajo arresto ante una acusación de agresión física relacionada a violencia doméstica.
Do you find probable cause for your initial arrest?
Determinó que existen indicios de criminalidad para su arresto inicial.
I will appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent your interests.
Se designa a la oficina del abogado de oficio para que les represente.
Your bond will be set in the amount of $1,000 with the following conditions.
Se le concede fianza en la cantidad de $1,000 con las siguientes condiciones.
You are not going to have contact with Arlene Bonilla Robles.
Se le prohíbe todo tipo de contacto con Arlene Bonilla Robles.
While this case is being sorted out, you may not return to the home located on the Ashland Lane North address.
Mientras el caso esté pendiente, se le prohíbe regresar al hogar ubicado en la dirección de Ashland Lane.
I will allow you to return one time with law enforcement to get some personal property while this case is getting sorted out.
Se le permitirá regresar en una ocasión acompañado de las autoridades para recoger sus pertenencias mientras este caso esté pendiente.
And I will I will appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent your interests.
Y se designa la oficina del abogado de oficio para que les represente.
Ms. Caraballo, do you wish to inquire as to whether they have children in common?
Licenciada Caraballo, ¿usted desea preguntar acerca de si ellos tienen hijos en común?
Just a moment, Your Honor.
Un momento, su señoría.
Yes, Your Honor, they do share a minor child who is 1 year old.
Sí, su señoría, ellos comparten un menor de 1 año de edad.
The court will allow contact through a third party, a family friend, or a family member to arrange visitation with the minor child.
Se permitirá contacto con el menor a través de terceras personas, una amistad, algún familiar.
As a standard condition of bond, you are not to possess any weapons or firearms.
Como una de las condiciones usuales de las fianzas, a usted se le prohíbe la tenencia de todo tipo de armas y armas de fuego.
Any additional court dates?
Tenemos las fechas de las próximas audiencias, quedan por determinarse.
Thank you. That will conclude our hearing.
Gracias, esto pone fin a esta audiencia.
Madam Interpreter, the next case that we have is Jairo Morales Ballesteros. There's 3 case numbers, 22-CT-3769, 22-CT-3770, 22-CT-3771.
He's present in person, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, Mr. Morales Ballesteros.
Buenas tardes, señor Morales Ballesteros. Good afternoon.
Sir, you were arrested based on 3 traffic offenses.
Señor, usted fue puesto bajo arresto por 3 acusaciones relacionadas al tránsito.
They have split those offenses out into 3 separate cases.
Se han dividido en 3 casos diferentes.
Count 1 in the first case is operating a motor vehicle without a valid driver's license.
Cargo número 1 del primer caso, conducir un vehículo de motor sin licencia válida.
Allegation 1 in the second case is operating a motor vehicle without registration.
Cargo número 1 del caso número 2, conducir un vehículo de motor sin la debida matriculación.
And count 1 of the third case is an allegation of attaching a tag not assigned to that vehicle.
Y cargo número 1 del tercer caso es utilizar una tablilla que no estaba designada para ese vehículo.
I find probable cause for each of those arrests.
Determinó que existen indicios de criminalidad para cada uno de estos arrestos.
I will appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent your interest.
Se designa la oficina del abogado de oficio para que les represente.
Bond in count 1 is set in the amount of $500.
Caso número 1, fianza $500.
Yes. Bond in count 1 of each of the 2 other cases is set in the amount of $250 each.
Y en cuanto a los otros 2 casos, el cargo número 1 es de $250 cada uno la fianza.
For a total bond amount on all 3 cases in the amount of $1,000.
La cantidad total de la fianza en todos los casos es de $1,000.
Thank you.
Gracias.
We'd ask
Judge, the defendant has another case.
Su señoría, este acusado tiene otro caso.
I've just got the 3 cases.
It's a possession of counterfeit license plates.
Tiene una acusación de tenencia de una licencia falsificada. Perdón, de una tablilla falsificada.
All right, apparently they have also charged a third-degree felony allegation in 22 CF 3126.
También se le han presentado cargos de delito en el caso 22F 3126.
That is a allegation of possessing a counterfeit driver license tag.
Aquí se le acusa de tener una tablilla falsificada.
Ms. Caraballo wish to be heard as to that allegation?
La licenciada Caraballo desea expresarse en cuanto a esa acusación.
Your Honor, seems duplicative of one of
I'm having a difficult time hearing you, Ms. Caraballo. Can you get closer to the microphone?
Does this work better, Your Honor?
Yes.
Your Honor, it seems that this is duplicative of one of the other charges, and we just asked for the PBR on that case. And we'd also be asking him to be placed on PTR for the previous 3 cases. It does seem like these charges qualify for PTR.
Su señoría, parece ser que esa acusación duplica una de las acusaciones anteriores, así que le estamos solicitando que se le conceda libertad a través del programa de libertad provisional en cuanto a esa acusación, al igual que las 3 acusaciones anteriores.
My understanding is that he does not qualify for pretrial release based on an immigration status.
Tengo entendido que por su situación migratoria él no cumple con los requisitos para que se le conceda la libertad provisional.
Your Honor, at this time, we'd be requesting an ROR on the 3 cases so that he can rectify any of his issues with his license plate and registration. Paying a $1,000 bond would certainly hinder him from doing so.
Su señoría, entonces estamos solicitando que se le conceda caución juratoria en las 3 causas para que él pueda resolver los asuntos relacionados a la tablilla y a la matriculación del vehículo, y él imponerle una fianza de $1,000 impediría que él pueda lograr esto con mayor facilidad.
As to the 3 criminal traffic citations, the request for ROR is denied.
En cuanto a los 3 casos relacionados al tránsito, la solicitud de caución juratoria se deniega.
As to the felony allegation in 22 CF 3126, the request is granted and he'll be released on his own recognizance on that case only.
En cuanto al caso 22CF 3226, se concede la solicitud y se le concede caución juratoria en cuanto a ese caso solamente.
Thank you.
Your Honor, so there's no PC for the criminal felony?
I'm just releasing him on his own recognizance. I find it duplicative. I do find probable cause. State of Florida versus Alexander Rivera Nater.
Rivera.
Madam Interpreter, the case number is 22 CF 3120. Good afternoon, sir.
Buenas tardes, señor. Good afternoon.
Sir, you were arrested based on an allegation of possession with intent to sell a controlled substance and possession of drug paraphernalia.
Señor, usted fue puesto bajo arresto porque se le acusa de tenencia con intención de vender una sustancia regulada y tenencia de instrumentos para el uso de drogas.
Based on the number of individual bags, the court does find probable cause for count 1 and count 2.
Debido al número de bolsitas individuales, este juzgado determina que existen indicios de criminalidad para los cargos 1 y 2.
I will appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent your interests.
Se designa la oficina del abogado de oficio para que les represente.
Based on the risk assessment result, the court declines to release you to straight pretrial release.
Según la evaluación de riesgo, este juzgado deniega el poner en libertad directa bajo el programa de libertad provisional.
The court will assign a bond in count 1 in the amount of $5,000.
Se le impone una fianza, cargo número 1, $5,000.
Bond in count 2 will be set in the amount of $500.
Cargo número 2, $500.
This will come with pretrial release conditions.
Esto también tendrá que cumplir con las condiciones del programa de libertad provisional.
You're to randomly be tested for any drugs in your system.
Usted será sometido a pruebas aleatorias de drogas.
You are ordered not to possess or consume any illegal substances.
Se le prohíbe la tenencia y o consumo de sustancias ilícitas.
Thank you.
Your Honor,
Gracias.
Ms. Caraballo?
would the court consider reducing the bond in count 1 due to the costs associated with PTR?
Su señoría, este juzgado consideraría el disminuir la fianza del cargo número 1 debido a las costas asociadas al programa de libertad provisional.
Based on the substance and the amount and the individual baggies in the state in which he was in, the request is denied.
Debido a la cantidad de bolsitas individuales y a las sustancias contenidas en ellas, su solicitud se deniega.
Thank you.
Gracias.
State of Florida versus, if I could ask for your indulgence, Ms. Caraballo, I'll take Mr. Utting's case next.
Your Honor, he's approaching now.
Thanks. Or you do. Good afternoon, counsel.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Andrew Moses on behalf of Mr. Utting.
Good to see you, Mr. Moses. Mr. Utting, you are here with us based on a number of allegations. You have a new
Your Honor,
law.
we would waive the reading of the charges against him.
Thank you. You have a new law offense. I'll give you the case number. It's 2022 CF. I think the new one is 3123. You're also here on an allegation of violation of probation in 2009 CF 568 based on the new arrest. You are represented by counsel, and Mr. Moses tells me that you are aware of what the allegations are against you. I have reviewed the charging affidavit. I have concerns as to whether there is probable cause for your initial arrest. That concern is based on the definition of trailer pursuant to Florida Statute 320.01. Trailer means any vehicle without motive power designed to be coupled to or drawn by a motor vehicle and constructed so that no part of its weight or that of its load rests upon the towing vehicle. The charging affidavit is devoid of any information about the trailer. So at this point, I find that the charging affidavit is insufficient. With that finding, state.
Your Honor, state would request a 24-hour reset to get more information on the trailer.
That would just be one of the counts, correct, Your Honor?
I think that's the basis for the entirety of the new offense. My understanding is it alleges that that vehicle was not registered on 4 subsequent registrations as well as 23 re-registrations. The other vehicles appeared to be registered. The state of Florida has requested 24 hours, which is their right. I will grant that request. Is it Utting or Utting? Utting, sir. Mr. Utting, we will bring you back tomorrow. The state of Florida will either be able to establish probable cause or not. I am going to reserve as to making a finding as to the on-view violation of probation in 2009 CF 0568. As that on-view violation appears to be solely reliant on the allegations in the charging affidavit.
Correct. Thank you very much, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you, Mr.
Tomorrow?
Yes, please.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Moses, if it is more convenient, I may be able to allow you to appear remotely. And if that's the case, please let Ms. Hafner know I will be the IA judge tomorrow.
Very good. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. We'll recall Mr. Utting's case tomorrow. State of Florida versus Patrick Sabalos.
President approaching, Your Honor.
Thanks. Good afternoon, Mr. Sabalos.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Mr. Sabalos, you are here based on an allegation of refusal to submit to a blood or breath test, driving under the influence, and driving while license suspended. The reason for your arrest is an allegation that you failed to appear for a jury trial. Judge Epperson issued a warrant based on that information, issued no bond. You are going to remain on no bond until we can get you in front of Judge Epperson, which should be pretty quick. And I will appoint, let me ask, are you already appointed by the office to the public defender's office? Do you have an attorney?
I'm in the process of hiring an attorney.
Okay. Do you want an attorney from the office of the public defender just to make sure that you have one while you're in there?
No, sir. I'm definitely going to hire an attorney.
Okay. Based on your response, the court is not going to appoint the office of the public defender, and I don't know if you have any court dates in front of Judge Epperson.
Your Honor, I wasn't able to set the future court dates for pretrial and jury trial, which was the cause of the FTA, due to him having to hire his own attorney on the case.
Okay. We've got no additional court dates for you. Let your attorney know that you're kind of drifting in the system right now. You don't have any set court dates. When they file their notice of appearance, they can request to have you be placed on a docket to see Judge Epperson. Does all that make sense?
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Good luck.
That was filed on May 28, 2021, and there hasn't been any NOA filed on the case, so I'm going to talk to the court clerk to see what we can do.
He's still toga, so.
Thank you.
State of Florida versus Ricky Dwayne White.
Your Honor, he's not in the chapel right now.
Okay. Was that a refusal, or do we know?
I'm having correction check now. I think it may have been an oversight.
Oh, okay. All right, I'll recall Mr. White's case. State of Florida versus Martin Berkey.
He's present and approaching, Your Honor.
Thanks. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Sir, you are here based on an allegation of battery domestic violence related. The case number is 2022 MM2416. Mr. Berkey, I have read the charging affidavit, and I do find probable cause for your initial arrest. I see that we have a witness who is present. I will appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent your interests. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
We're going to place you under oath at this time.
Will you please raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to enter into this case to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Ma'am, I'm going to be making some decisions as to whether it is appropriate for you, for Mr. Berkey, to be allowed to have contact with you, and whether it is appropriate, if you cohabitate or live together, that he be allowed to return to the Coral Palms Court address. Do you wish to give me any information about your thoughts about those matters?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right,
I
thank
would
you.
like to state that I don't think that the severity of this case.
Hold on just one second.
We're having a difficult time hearing.
Okay. I don't know how we're going to be able to address this particular situation. That little microphone right there, if you will speak loudly into that microphone so that Mr. Berkey's attorney can hear you, that would be helpful.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, Your Honor, I do not want to press charges or continue with anything to make his case any more severe than it is already. My reason of calling 911 is to keep the peace, not for him to go to jail.
Understood. Let me ask you some questions, and then I'll give you some information. The state of Florida is the agency that makes the decision as to whether to bring criminal charges or not. The arrest has already happened, and I do find probable cause for that arrest. They will consider your thoughts on the matter, but ultimately the decision as to whether to bring charges against Mr. Berkey or not will be theirs to make. I'm not permitted to get involved in that decision. As to the issues of contact and having him return to the family home, let me ask you some questions. Have there been any previous incidents of domestic violence?
No.
Okay. Do you have a cell phone or a means of communication to call law enforcement if there is a concern of domestic violence?
Yes.
Are there any minor children in the home?
No.
Do you live together at the Coral Palms address?
Yes.
All right. Are you in fear if the court allowed Mr. Berkey to return to that address of any issues of domestic violence?
I'm not in fear.
Right, thanks. And do you wish to have contact with Mr. Berkey?
Yes, I do.
Are there any weapons in the home?
No, there are.
Right, thank you. Ms. Lewis, any questions of the witness?
If something were like to happen like this again, would you call 911?
Absolutely.
Okay. No further questions, Your Honor.
Ms. Caraballo?
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right. It is reported that you indicated to law enforcement that there had been prior incidents, but none had been reported to law enforcement. Is this the first time that law enforcement has been involved in this type of situation?
Yes, because there wasn't a severity of a case where I deemed it necessary to call the law enforcement.
Thank you. Any follow-up questions, Ms. Lewis?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Caraballo?
No, Your Honor.
All right. And it's Ms. Zaragoza? Ms. Zaragoza, you are in the best possible position to evaluate whether you are in fear of Mr. Berkey or not. These can be complicated family decisions. The most protection that the court can give you is to order that he have no contact and not be allowed to return to the property. You've indicated that those are not your wishes, is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
All right. Court is going to, as I said, find that you're in the best position to give me that information. The court will allow Mr. Berkey to return to the family home. Let me address the conditions of bond. Mr. Berkey will be released on a $1,000 bond with the following conditions. He have no hostile contact with Ms. Zaragoza. Mr. Berkey, no hostile contact means exactly what it sounds like. You're not to put your hands on Ms. Zaragoza without her permission. You are not to have any verbal or aggressive arguments. You're not to threaten or argue via electronic means or social media. Do you understand?
I understand, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Berkey, based on information from the alleged victim in this case and sworn testimony, will be allowed to return to the family home at Coral Palms. Do we have any additional court dates for Mr. Berkey?
On demand.
All right. All right. I'll note for the record that the risk assessment results are low and that no injuries were observed on Ms. Zaragoza. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you, Your Honor.
State of Florida versus Marlon Curtis.
Thank you, Mr.
Mr. President, approaching Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor. I'm Marlon J. Curtis.
Good afternoon, Mr. Curtis. Mr. Curtis, you are here with us. You already had a case with me, and that was 2022 CF 8185. This is an allegation of a new law offense in 22 MM 2418. I have read the allegations of the new law offense and do find probable cause for your initial arrest. Bond in the new case is going to be set in the amount of $1,500 with the special condition that you not return to the Home Depot on West Vine Street. Unfortunately, you are out on release on 22 CF 8185. That was an allegation of a theft-related offense. I find there's probable cause to believe you committed a new theft-related offense while you were out on release. I am revoking your release and setting your bond in the amount of none. Apparently, that case is assigned before me. Your attorneys will know how to get you in front of me to request a bond in that case, and I will appoint the Office of the Public Defender on both cases if they were not previously appointed. Thank you.
Just one more time, could I have that case number? It's 22 CF 8185.
Affirmative.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thanks. Thank you, sir. State of Florida versus Brandy Oliver.
She's present in perjury, Your Honor.
Thanks. Good afternoon, Ms. Oliver.
Hello.
Ms. Oliver, you were arrested based on an allegation of DUI. I have read the charging affidavit in 22 CT 3772. I do find probable cause for your initial arrest. You do qualify for direct pretrial release, and I am going to approve you for direct pretrial release with the following conditions. You are to possess nor consume any alcohol, and you may not drive without a valid driver's license. I will appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent your interests. Are you requesting their appointment? Yes. Okay. So appointed. Thank you. State of Florida versus Sammy Pawnee.
Your Honor, they bonded.
He bonded, Your Honor, prior to IAC.
Thank you. State of Florida versus Jose Rodriguez.
Present in perjury, Your Honor. And I do have a probable cause argument.
Mr. Rodriguez, you are here based on a new law allegation in 22 CF 3128. The allegation being the first-degree misdemeanor allegation of criminal mischief, a second-degree felony allegation of burglary to an occupied structure, a second-degree misdemeanor allegation of intent to threat to do violence, a second-degree felony allegation of harm or threatening harm to a public servant or family, and the first-degree misdemeanor allegation of resisting an officer without violence. I will appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent your interests. Ms. Caraballo.
Your Honor, my probable cause argument is with regard to count 3, harm to the public servant or family. It was charged under Florida Statute 838.021, subsection 3, subsection A. Under Florida Statute 838.021, subsection 3, subsection A, the statute says it's any person who unlawfully harms a public servant or any other person with whose welfare the public servant is interested shall be guilty of a felony of the second degree. Your Honor, what they're alleging in the affidavit was a threat to do violence to a piece of property, not to a person, and under the statute, he did not commit any harm. It was a threat.
All right, thank you. State response.
State's response is he did threaten to shoot up car 575, Bailey's car, Debbie Bailey's car. We don't know if Debbie Bailey was in there, so I can see defense's argument for that, but based on the facts of this case, I think.
Right, so that probable cause argument is as to count 4 or 3?
3, Your Honor.
Count 3. Court finds the defense's objection is well taken. The court will find probable cause of the other allegations. Bond in count 1 will be set in the amount of $500. Bond in count 2 will be lowered to the amount of $2,500. Bond in count 3 will be a release on own recognizance as no PC was found. Count 4 will be $1,000. Count 5 will be $500. Unfortunately, Mr. Rodriguez is also out on a release in 2022, CF 2801. That is an allegation of theft, trespass, and the court finds that there is probable cause to believe Mr. Rodriguez has committed similar new law offenses while out on a release. The ROR is revoked. Bond is set in the amount of none. I will appoint the Office of the Public Defender on both cases, and the defense will be free to make their petition for bond before me on 2022 CF 2801. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
State of Florida versus Eleazar Torres.
He's present and approaching, Your Honor.
Thanks.
Judge, we will be requesting ROR for this defendant instead of pretrial release. Got a lower bond amount. Has one prior case of October 2022, which was no info for a misuse of 911.
Okay. He qualifies for pretrial release, but
He does
you
qualify
don't
for
want him?
direct pretrial release, but since the lower amount of the bond and the prior case, which was no info, we will request ROR if your judge wants to go that way.
Right, thank you. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Sir, you are here based on an allegation of trespass in a structure or conveyance. I have read the charging affidavit. I do find probable cause for your arrest. I will appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent your interests. The court is going to decline the request to release you on your own recognizance and release you on pretrial release with the sole condition that you not return to property
That's my property.
at 1454 Turkey Lane, Kissimmee, Osceola County, Florida. There is some dispute as to whether that is your property or the property of another. I can't resolve that dispute at this point. I understand that you disagree with the allegations in the affidavit. You will be released, but can't go back to that property until this situation gets resolved. I have appointed an attorney from the Office of the Public Defender to represent your interests. Thank you.
Your Honor, I just want to confirm that's straight PTO.
Straight PTR.
Thank you so much.
State of Florida versus Mariceli Goud.
She's present and approaching, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Ma'am, you were arrested based on an allegation of battery domestic violence related. I have read the charging affidavit, and at this point I must assume for a probable cause determination that the allegations in the charging affidavit are true and correct. I understand you may disagree and there may be a defense to those allegations, but I do find probable cause for your initial arrest. As you have seen, I'm going to make some decisions as to contact and whether you will be permitted to return to the family home. I will appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent your interests. I note that we have a witness present. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
We're going to place you under oath at this point.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to enter into this case to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Will you tell me your name, sir, please?
My name is Richard Goud.
Thank you. Mr. Goud, you are listed as, in the charging affidavit as the victim in this case. You've seen the inquiries that I will make, so I'm going to ask you the same questions. The first question I'd like to ask you is, have there ever been any issues of domestic violence in the
Never.
past?
In 25 years we've been together, never.
Thank you. Do you share any children in common?
No, Your Honor.
Right, thank you. Do you both live together at the Eucalyptus Court address?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you have a means of communication such as a cell phone or a house phone that you could call law enforcement if you are concerned?
I do, Your Honor.
Should the court allow contact, do you have any fear of your wife?
Not at all.
And is it your wishes to have Ms. Goud return to the family home on Eucalyptus Court?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Any questions, Ms. Lewis?
Yes, Your Honor. Was there any drinking that night by Ms. Goud?
No,
No.
not at all.
If something were like to happen like this again, would you call 911?
I would. There won't be a time, but if there is, I would.
Your Honor, we couldn't hear the response here.
You couldn't hear the response?
No, Your Honor.
He said he would call law enforcement if there was a concern.
Thank you, Your Honor.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Ms. Caraballo, any questions of Mr. Goud Diaz?
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Mr. Goud, you are in the best possible position to weigh this complicated issue and make a give sworn testimony to the court. I do find that based on there being a risk assessment of and the amount of low, your request to have contact and your sworn statement that there have been no prior incidents of domestic violence, the court will allow Ms. Goud to return to the family home at Eucalyptus Court. Ms. Goud, the court is going to order no hostile contact, which means no more verbal fighting, no more putting your hands on Mr. Goud without his permission, and no arguments through social media or electronic means. Do you understand? All right. I don't know whether the state of Florida will end up filing charges on this case or not. That's entirely within their discretion to do so. But the court finds that our initial appearance has been satisfied, and Ms. Goud will be allowed to return home and have no hostile contact while the case is getting sorted out.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thanks.
Judge, are you setting a
And
bond?
Your Honor.
Whoops, I guess I do need to set a bond in this case. Bond in this case is going to be set in the amount of $250 with pretrial release conditions, no hostile contact. A standard condition, Ms. Goud, if there's any firearms or weapons in the home, they need to go elsewhere while the case is getting sorted out. Thank you. State of Florida versus Francisco Morales.
He's present in person, Your Honor.
Mr. Morales, good afternoon. You are here with us based on 3 allegations. The first is an allegation of possession of cocaine with the intent to sell or deliver within 1,000 feet of a church or a business. That is a first-degree felony allegation. Count 2 is the second-degree felony allegation of possession of opium or a derivative within 1,000 feet of a church or a business. And count 3 is possession of drug paraphernalia. Let's see. Delivery of drug paraphernalia. As to counts 1 and 2, I do find probable cause. As to count 3, I find probable cause for a misdemeanor possession of drug paraphernalia. Bond in count 1 is going to be set in the amount of $5,000. Bond in count 2 is going to be set in the amount of $5,000. Bond in count 3 is going to be set in the amount of $500 with pretrial release. Pretrial release conditions will be that you will be randomly tested for any drugs in your system, and you may not possess or consume any illegal substances. I will appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent your interests. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Ms. Caraballo, that was the last of the folks I had on our list. Any clients we haven't talked to?
Your Honor,
Your Honor, the only one I have remaining on my docket is Mr. Ricky White, and Corrections has informed that
Sorry, Deputy, can you get Mr. Earl, excuse me, Mr. William Werrington, please? All right, are you Mr. William Werrington? Not yes? Just nod your head. I can't hear you. You're on mute. Okay. Okay, all right, thank you. We're about to start your hearing. Today is November 2nd, 2022. I'm Judge Chase Johnson. This is the felony preliminary hearing calendar of State of Georgia versus William Werrington. Warrant number 2022 WA16052. Representing the state is Mr. Evan Hansinger, and representing the defendant is Ms. Tiffany Pleasant. That charge is unlawful removal of baggage. Mr. Hansinger, your witness.
Thank you, Judge. The state calls Officer Jackson. Officer Jackson, can you raise your right hand?
Yes, sir.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter is truth, whole truth, nothing but truth, so help you God?
I do.
You can lower your hand. Can you introduce yourself for the record, spell your name?
I'm Officer P.B. Jackson. I work with the City of Atlanta Police Department.
Okay, Officer Jackson, how long have you been with the City of Atlanta Police Department?
34 years.
And were you working for the City of Atlanta Police on October 17th of this year?
As off-duty security with Delta, yes.
Okay, so you were working for Delta in a part-time capacity?
Yes, sir.
Okay. On that occasion, what was your role with Delta at that time?
I was performing security in the baggage area. We had a problem with baggage thefts at the domestic terminal.
Okay, and is the domestic terminal of the airport within Clayton County?
It is.
Okay. While you were working in the baggage claim area, what happened on November 17th? October 17th.
Yes, sir. I entered in the door S6 after returning from lunch, and as I walked in, I was apprised by one of the porters who pushed bags there. He told me that there was a lady, and that the lady had seen a gentleman take some bags outside to the smoking area, and she didn't believe the bags belonged to him. So when I went over there, I met with the witness, Tamika Crawford. She pushes wheelchairs and does wheelchair assist at the airport. She explained to me and pointed out Mr. William Werrington, who was laid out on one of the benches in the smoke area. She explained to me that he had taken removed a duffel bag, and she pointed to the duffel bag, which was laying on the ground in that same area. So I approached Mr. Werrington, aroused him up, and I asked him, had he taken a bag from inside? He said, yes, he took a bag, and at the request of a passenger. So I asked him, said, where's the passenger? And he looked around. I said, sir, did you take this bag at the request of the passenger? He looked over, he admitted, he said, no, I didn't. It's your honor. He said, officer, I took the bag. I said, okay. I had him to stand up, I handcuffed him. I proceeded to take him inside the door, and as I was getting ready to go inside the door, another one of the wheelchair pushers said to me, listen, that's not the only bag, he has a second bag. And I went back and retrieved a black roller bag as well. So I took the black roller bag and the duffel bag, proceeded to take him over to the airport precinct. And from there, I contacted a representative from Delta, who came back and reconciled the bags and explained that the bags belonged to two different customers. And after that, we placed him under arrest for removal of baggage from that carousel.
Okay, I'm gonna unpack what you said there just so that we make sure the details are clear. So you spoke with Miss Crawford, who is one of the individuals who pushes people in wheelchairs.
Yes, I did.
And did she explain why she believed that the bag that was removed did not belong to the defendant?
She explained that she'd seen him previously, had seen him around, and that he walked over there and just grabbed a duffel bag and took it outside. She didn't explain so much as to why she thought, except that she thought he's residential challenge, and she didn't think he was an actual passenger.
Okay, so at that point you went and spoke to the defendant outside?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and you questioned him regarding whether the bag belonged to him?
I did.
Okay, but he wasn't under arrest or anything at that point, was he?
No, he wasn't. He wasn't.
And the defendant stated that a passenger had asked him to retrieve the duffel bag?
Yes.
Did the defendant provide a name for who that individual was?
No, he didn't.
Okay, and at that point you proceed to ask him whether there actually was a passenger?
Yes.
Okay. And he admitted that there was no passenger, he had just taken the bag?
That's correct.
Okay. And regarding the you said you had a Delta employee reconcile the baggage. The green duffel bag, do you recall the name of the individual who that baggage actually belonged to?
The green duffel bag belonged to a Mr. Kenneth Higgins.
And was Mr. Higgins present while you were interacting with the defendant?
No, he was not.
Did you have any indication that Mr. Higgins provided consent for the defendant to remove his baggage?
No, sir.
And the black roller bag that you also retrieved, do you recall who that baggage belonged to?
Mr. Matthew Gaither.
And same thing, was Mr. Gaither present?
No, he was not.
Do you have any indication that Mr. Gaither provided consent for the defendant to remove his baggage?
No, sir.
That's all at this time, Judge.
All right, Ms. Pleasant.
Thank you. Officer Jackson, was your conversation with my client memorialized in any way?
No, it wasn't.
So you do not wear a body worn camera?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Were there any witnesses to your interaction with Mr. Werrington?
Tamika Crawford.
Okay. So she was present during your entire interaction with my client?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you or anyone associated with this case actually contact Kenneth Higgins regarding his luggage?
Delta Airlines does the follow-up on those bags.
And did they provide you with any information regarding the follow-up?
No, we didn't.
Same question with regards to Mr. Gaither. Did you or
No.
anyone? Okay.
No, ma'am.
So no information provided by Delta regarding a follow-up?
No, ma'am, not at this point yet.
Okay. And it's your testimony that Mr. Werrington admitted that he took the bag without permission?
He did. He also corrected me. I thought they'd come off carousel 5. He informed me that he actually took them off of carousel 3.
Okay. Thank you. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Any follow-up?
No, Judge.
All right, closing
Yes.
argument. Mr. Hensinger, closing arguments.
Your Honor, defense will submit on the testimony.
All right. So
Judge.
based on evidence presented here today, they've submitted. Based on evidence presented here today, I do find that there's sufficient probable cause to bind the case over to the Superior Court of Clayton County. That's the order of the court.
Thank you, Judge. And can Officer Jackson be excused?
Yes, thank you, Officer Jackson.
Thank you, ma'am.
All righty.
Good day.
All right, do you have anybody else ready?
Judge, the officer for Pharaoh is present.
All righty. And that's also Ms. Pleasant. Deputy, can you get Mr. Pharaoh, please?
It is. Your Honor, before we start that hearing, can I briefly speak to Mr. Pharaoh?
Yes. Alrighty. So that's gonna, you can just join room 1.
Okay.
Deputy, can you join room 1? Ms. Pleasant would like to speak to Mr. Pharaoh.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're ready, Your Honor.
All right. So just to confirm, he only has 1 charge as well? Criminal damage in the 2nd degree, is that correct, Ms. Pleasant?
Yes, sir.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Ms. Pleasant, another client of yours wants to speak to you, if that is okay.
And who's that client?
Cheney?
Okay.
All righty, so we're gonna go ahead and get started as soon as Mr. Pharaoh is brought forward. All righty, Mr. Pharaoh, we're about to start your preliminary hearing. I am now calling a matter of State of Georgia versus Contreras Pharaoh, warrant number 2022 CW 53548. Representing the state is Mr. Evan Hansinger. Representing the defendant is Ms. Tiffany Pleasant. The charge is criminal damage in the 2nd degree. Ms. Hansinger, your witness.
Thank you, Judge. State calls Officer Sanders. Officer Sanders, can you raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm testimony you'll give in this matter is the truth, whole truth, nothing but truth, so help you God?
Yes, I swear and affirm.
If you can lower your hand, if you don't mind introducing yourself, spelling your name for the record.
I'm Officer J. Sanders, Sanders.
Officer Sanders, whom are you employed by?
Clayton County Police Department.
How long have you been with Clayton County?
Less than a year.
Okay, but you were working for, were you working for Clayton County on August 1st of this year?
Yes, sir.
And you were on patrol at that time?
Yes, sir.
Okay, did you respond to 914 Brandon Hill Way?
Yes, sir.
Is that within Clayton County?
Yes.
When you arrived, did you speak to an individual named Jamie Hardaway?
Yes, sir, I did.
Can you advise what Ms. Hardaway told you?
Ms. Hardaway stated that her and Mr. Pharaoh were previously in a relationship and that she was living at the residence. She stated that she was leaving and she had previously moved out, but had left her belongings there as an agreement that she had with Mr. Pharaoh, and that she received a text that day of him telling her, you need to come get your stuff because I'm putting them outside and you might want to hurry up because it's going to rain.
Okay, when you arrived on scene, what was the weather conditions?
It had just finished raining. It was like still drizzling a little bit.
Okay, but it had rained?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you observe any property of Miss Hardaway?
Yes, she had a lot of different miscellaneous items outside. The few things that she stated was very important was her hair dryer, some books, and a dresser. It was outside. Everything was soaking wet.
Okay. And the location that you responded to, 914 Brandon Hill Way, is that a house, an apartment, townhouse?
It's a house.
Okay. And the property, you stated that it was soaking wet. How did it appear to you? Did it appear that it would be functional at this point, or did it appear non-functional?
It didn't appear functional, although we didn't have anything there to test some of the electronic items that she had, but the books that she had were soaking wet by the pages. She still continued to load everything into her vehicle.
Okay. And did Miss Hardaway provide you with an approximate value of that property?
Yes, she said that it was going to be over $1,000.
Okay. Did you referenced that there were some text messages from the defendant? Were you able to observe those for yourself?
Yes, she did show them to me via her phone, where he was stating that she needed to come get the items because he was putting them outside, and that she would need to hurry up because it looks like it's going to rain.
Okay. Was Mr. Pharaoh present while you were on scene?
Not to my knowledge. I knocked on the door, but I had negative contact with Mr. Pharaoh.
Okay. How did you obtain his information then?
It was provided to me by Ms. Hardaway.
Okay. Nothing further this time, Judge.
All right, Ms. Pleasant?
Thank you. This house that you responded to, is it owned by my client, to your knowledge?
I'm not aware of that, ma'am.
Okay. To your knowledge, is the alleged victim's name anywhere on a lease or ownership with regards to that property?
Not that I'm aware.
Okay. And you have any information that my client was responsible for housing Ms. Hardaway's property?
Well, based on what Ms. Hardaway told me and the text messages between her and Mr. Pharaoh, it was understood that he was aware that her property was there and that she was in the process of moving. And he deliberately put her stuff outside because she didn't come at a promptly manner for him.
And how long had it been since Ms. Hardaway actually resided in that residence?
I'm not too sure.
Okay. Do you have any information that Mr. Pharaoh had previously requested that she remove her belongings from that property?
No, ma'am.
Did you speak to any witnesses with regards to the allegations that Mr. Pharaoh put her property out on the outside of the residence?
No, ma'am.
Did you speak to any neighbors with regards to any of these events associated with this allegation?
No, ma'am.
Now, when did Ms. Hardaway advise that she moved out of the residence?
She told me that day, but she stated that she had moved out about 2-3 weeks ago, prior to the date.
Did she provide an explanation for why she left her property for 3 weeks at Mr. Pharaoh's residence?
She just told me that she was in the process of moving. She didn't get into details about it.
And exactly what you said, you were shown a video, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And what are the contents of the video?
The video showed him inside the house, telling her that she needed to get her stuff because he was putting them outside. And then the next video showed the belongings outside with him telling her, come get your stuff.
And what efforts did you make to reach Mr. Pharaoh?
I tried to contact him via telephone. I also knocked on the door to see if he was home. I made negative contact with him on both ends.
Thank you. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Or any follow-up?
Just briefly, Judge. Officer Sanders, do you recall approximately the length of time between the videos and when Ms. Hardaway advised she arrived on scene?
I'm not aware.
Do you recall if the videos were from a prior day or anything like that, or when the video was from?
Well, based on the message thread that she showed me, it was from the same day.
Okay. Nothing further, Judge.
All righty. Any closing arguments? Mr. Hansinger?
State waives opening.
All right, Ms. Pleasant?
Your Honor, I'm going to ask the court to not find probable cause in this case. Ms. Hardaway moved out of the property and she chose to leave her belongings behind. Mr. Pharaoh asked her to come get her property. He advised her that he was putting the property out and advised her of the weather. But there's nothing that shows that he had a legal responsibility to house her property for her. She opted to leave that location and she had a duty to come and retrieve her belongings. She moved out 3 weeks ago. There's no reason that her property should have remained in that residence and for that length of time without her making any effort to retrieve her property. There's no evidence that there was an agreement. There's no evidence that he had a legal requirement to house her property for her. And so I'd ask that the court not find probable cause on that basis.
All right, thank you. Mr. Hansinger?
Yes, Judge. State asks that Your Honor bind over all charges in this case, well, the single charge here of criminal damage to property in the second degree. As Your Honor knows, we're only needing to establish probable cause at this point. There has been sufficient testimony to establish that. Officer Sanders has testified that Ms. Hardaway had some sort of verbal agreement, although there's no indication that it was a written agreement or anything of that nature, but it was an understanding between the parties that the property would remain there until she could get herself established. And then on the day in question, the defendant sent some messages telling her that she needed to remove her property immediately, letting her know that it was raining outside, and then promptly placed the property out into the rain, causing damage to that property. The elements that need to be established here is simply that he intentionally damaged the property, which is shown by the fact that he saw that it's raining, in essence threatened her saying, I'm just going to put your property outside. And then the value of that property exceeding $500, as Officer Sanders indicated, Ms. Hardaway stated that the property did exceed that value. And Officer Sanders testified that, in his opinion, at least the books and the other property did appear to be damaged, given that they were left out in the rain. So there is sufficient probable cause. We ask that you bind over the charge in this case. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. All right, so based upon the evidence presented here today, I do not find sufficient probable cause to bind this case over to the Superior Court of Clayton County. That's the order of the court.
Thank you, Judge.
In your honor, if I can go back in the cell and speak to Mr. Chaney, if that's okay.
Okay. Deputy, if you could join room 1. And Ms. Pleasant, you're already in room 1. And then who are we going to do next?
I am waiting to hear back from one of the officers, but can Officer Sanders be excused?
Yes, thank you, officer.
And Judge, also, we are still live on YouTube, but I wanted to see if I
All right, we are now streaming live on YouTube. Today is, November 2nd, 2022. I'm Judge Chase Johnson. This is the felony preliminary hearing calendar. When I call the calendar, please make your announcements. Position 1, Busio, I understand that person is out to bond, correct?
That's correct.
All righty. And then what about Trevon Burks?
State's ready.
All righty.
And I need to hold on that one, Your Honor.
All right, I'll put that down as pretrial. Thank you, Mr. Rogers. Charles Carter?
I don't have, that case was a drug court waiver previously done.
What about Jarvis Cheney?
Judge, if we can hold to the end of the calendar, I don't have, I haven't checked with my legal assistant to see if we have that officer. So I'll have an announcement at the end of the calendar.
Okay. Okay. And who case is this?
That is mine, Your Honor, and Mr. Cheney is requesting a hearing.
Okay. I'll put it down as just a pretrial at this point until Ms. Freeman gets an opportunity.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
Right. Werrington Chung.
The state's ready.
All right.
Rhonda Hill for Mr. Chung. That will be a hearing.
All right, thank you. Edward Davis.
Davis.
Mhm.
Judge, I don't have a, you said Deborah?
Edward Davis.
Sorry, that was a bond previously done.
Okay. Bobby Dewberry.
That was a fast track previously done.
All right. What about Centavious Pharaoh?
State's ready.
And that'll be a hearing, Your Honor.
Mhm. That was Ms. Pleasant said that. All right.
Judge.
Liston, Georges Liston.
I think that's going to be a bond waiver this morning.
All right.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Marcel Hanley.
That's a waiver only this morning.
Okay. Waiver only. All right. That was yours, Ms. Pleasant.
It is mine, and Ms. Davis already emailed that over to you, Judge.
Oh, great. All righty. Richard Hudson.
State's ready.
That's fast track.
All right. Thank you. Quandarius Johnson.
The state's ready.
Okay.
And I suspect that's going to be a hearing, but let me confirm that first, but I think it's going to be a hearing.
Okay. All righty. Divine Lewis.
You said Lewis, Judge? That was a fast track that was previously done.
Okay. Lee Marriott.
State's ready.
As far as I know, he's been released, Your Honor.
Deputy, do you have Lee Marriott?
Yes, he's here, Your Honor.
Okay. You want a chance to talk to him, Mr. Rogers?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, because I'm not sure why. Yeah, what happened, man? Okay.
Okay. All right. I just put it down as a pretrial.
Okay.
All
And
righty.
at the end of the calendar, tomorrow, I'll pull him up also on the system to see. He may just have a hold, but I'll check to see if he was out of bond on these charges and something else happened.
Yeah, because they canceled the visit I had scheduled, so for that reason that he had been released.
I'll check too.
Okay, all right, thank you. Joseph Montelli,
State's ready.
And that looks to be a bond waiver.
mhm. What about Reginald Patterson?
That was a fast track already done.
Okay. Preston Portis,
State's ready.
I believe that's going to be a consent bond. Thank you, Judge.
so do you want me to put it as consent bond or put it as pretrial?
You can go ahead and put it as a consent bond. Thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All right, I'll get that written up.
Joe Ridley,
State's ready.
And I got the same info about him as I did about Mr. Merritt, so now I'm double checking that one too. But if he's here, I'm gonna need to hold to speak with him. Yeah, I need to hold to speak with him.
all right, Deputy, do you have Mr. Joe Louis Ridley Jr.? Deputy? All right, so let's come back to that one. What about Kwame Russell?
That was a bond previously done.
Deputy, do you have Mr. Joe Louis Ridley Jr.?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all righty. And so George Scott, is that a bond waiver?
That was a bond previously done.
Okay. Kelvin Scott,
State's ready.
That's gonna be a fast track.
all right. Jamia Smith,
The state's ready.
Underhill for Mr. Smith. I pre-tried that with my client.
okay, all right. And I know we have Quantavious Smith as a bond waiver already submitted. We have Mr. Kareem Stevens, consent bond already. I'm not sure if you submitted it, but that's gonna be a consent bond. Amir Tate.
Judge.
You skipped over, I'm sorry, Ms. Hill.
Yeah, I was gonna say you skipped over Quintavious Smith because there's a Quantavious and a Quintavious Smith, and they're right next to each other. And I think it's position like 83, or I don't know, it could be.
Quintavious Smith. It's charges, the first charge is home invasion.
That's Quantavious. Home invasion. Oh, okay. All righty. So what is the announcement on Quintavious?
The state's ready.
Rhonda Hill for Mr. Smith. I'm going to pre that with my client, Your Honor.
All righty. And then the Quantarius. Wait a minute. Okay. And so that's the one we already have. The other one here with the criminal, starting at the criminal trespass, that's the one that we have the bond waiver on, right?
Yes, that's the one that's going to be a fast track, but also on one of those charges where you'll see the simple assault is a WA. That's the one that I was indicated that is a misdemeanor that's not related to this case. It needs to be placed on a state court, on a misdemeanor calendar. 2022 WA 15926. It's a simple assault. That one needs to be placed on a prelim calendar for misdemeanors.
15, okay, here. All right, I'm glad you gave me that warrant number.
That's for Quatavius Smith? if I'm.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Okay, and what about Amari Tate?
State's ready.
I need to hold on that one, Your Honor.
Okay. What about Desmond Vermal?
State's ready.
That's a bond waiver.
Okay. Kendrick Wade?
State's ready.
That was a bond waiver previously done.
Thank you.
Thank you. William Werrington?
State's ready.
There'll be a hearing, Your Honor.
Earl Washington?
State's ready.
I need to hold on that one. It may be a waiver, but I need to finish speaking with Mr. Washington about it.
Okay. Michael Washington?
That was a drug court waiver previously done.
Okay. And who represented this defendant?
That would be me, Your Honor.
Okay, all righty, thank you. Derica Whitaker?
That was a bond this morning.
All right. Crystal Williams?
State's ready. That's
Represented,
I'm sorry.
he's represented by Stanley Schoolcraft.
Did you get anything from Mr. Schoolcraft, Ms. Freeman?
Judge, I did forward you the email from Mr. Schoolcraft on Monday that I think was supposed to be for this week.
For the whole week?
I believe it was for the whole week. I haven't gotten anything else from him. I got that. I think that was that Sunday night. Let's see if I can.
I will have Ms. Thomas.
I'm gonna see what it says. Yes, he says conflict letter for, but that's, I don't know if that's this week. Wait a minute. No, that was for last week. I'm trying to find the email that I forwarded to Your Honor. Let me see. Well, Judge, I think the one that he sent me was I'm trying to pull up, but I don't see anything for today. But I haven't heard anything else from him.
Okay.
You know what, Judge? It was from a legal assistant. That's why I can't pull it up under his name. It was from a legal assistant with the Conflict Defender's Office. So I have to. Right.
I see. I just found it.
See it? Okay.
Oh my goodness. Oh my God. Okay, yeah, he has a lot of conflict. What's today's date? The 2nd.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he has a special set trial today in Henry County. All right.
And his client is a co-defendant to Jordan Went. And Went is represented by Ms. Pleasant.
And that was Crystal Williams. Okay.
Hey, Your Honor.
Uh-huh.
I don't mean to interrupt, but I think you skipped my person too. So I'm just going to check real quick. Divine Lewis.
No,
I
it was a
didn't get-
fast track previously done.
Okay, I didn't get a call. So may I be excused, Your Honor?
Yes, yes, you may. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
All righty. Jamani Williams, that was a consent bond done this morning, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and Tithine Williams?
And that is, I think that's the consent bond this morning. Or is it, no, fast track, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fast track. And I do ask the jail to hold Mr. Williams and not send him back immediately so I can explain the terms.
Okay, all right. So what are we gonna do with Jordan Went?
I'm presuming if we don't have Mr. Schoolcraft, that it'll be continuance because he wants a hearing, Judge.
Okay. And Ms. Freeman, that's okay?
Yes, Judge, and if you can hold Ms. Went, let me, Ms. President.
Mommy.
Sergeant Glover, can you mute yourself, please? Thank you. If the jail can hold Ms. Went, Ms. Pleasant, let me look at that again because it's been continued before, and let me look at it again for.
Okay, thank you.
So right at this point, I just put it down for pretrial. All righty. And then we already talked about I added in Mr. Quintavious Smith.
Right, and Judge, you got my message regarding Marquise Willis or Brandon Lewis. That was on the calendar. I sent you a message in the chat earlier.
Oh, okay, I didn't see it. Let's see. I've let everybody in. Is the juvenile department on?
I'm sorry, Judge?
Wait a minute, Brandon Lewis just he is in trial.
But I see that Marquise Willis was placed on November 7th. So.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay, all right.
Right, because I think he has a co-defendant that's prelim was on the 7th. So I'll just let Mr. Lewis know it's on the 7th. And
I don't see that person on here.
right, it's on the 7th.
All
Yeah.
right.
Thank you, Judge.